Pollock a call if you'd like to do that and ask him questions about lawns, gardens, trees, flowers, you name it. What's going on with your plants in some way, shape, or form. And cicadas. I want to start there. By the way, 479-1160 or 349-WCCS. You want to ask Bob a question. Cicadas, are they here yet? Are they here yet?
Well, they are in a way here yet.
They're still underground.
They're underground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're on their way to the
here,
surface.
Here, but they're not on the surface yet.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll get to that conversation. But right now we have a caller. Good morning.
Good morning. I had a question concerning an azalea bush I have.
Ooh, it's 2 weeks in a row with azaleas, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a smaller one, but like on some of the branches it has like splotchy white spots. Do I need to cut those branches off, or what should I do with that?
Okay, so there's these white spots on the branches themselves.
Yeah, like on the coming up from the roots, like just two of them out of the bush has just like splotchy white or light green on them.
He's thinking.
Oh, maybe there's lichens on there. If it's when you said blotchy, and then when you said the green, lichens can be kind of a grayish green. They can be a little bit more green than gray sometimes, but you'll get these, kind of blotchy areas, and you'll see it often on tree bark, and they can be three-dimensional. They won't just be like a film on the surface of the bark. They can actually grow out from that. Sometimes they'll get big enough that they look like a pair of elephant ears, just with the outline of it. But those are, and if that's what it is, that's not going to be harmful to the plant. It's an algae and a fungus that grow together. They're very common. They release and they move around with spores. Those spores land on surfaces. You can find them growing on concrete and river rock and all that kind of stuff. So those spores land. They start to grow. They get their nourishment from the combination of the fungus and the algae growing together, as well as from the air. So they're not a harm to the plant, and you can actually scrape that right off. And especially if it's more like an algal film on there, you can kind of take your thumbnail and just lightly remove that.
Okay. So I don't need to trim those?
No, now, so how does the plant look? Is it leafing out? Did it flower, and is it leafing out like it should?
It's flowering, but like the one branch that has those on, it's not a lot of flowers on it.
Okay. But the leaves are coming out?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I'm just trying to see if there's life in those branches and in the plant, and the buds are opening up, because sometimes we'll get some, you might have had a rabbit feeding a little bit on the bark or chewing on it or something like that, or you get a little bit of dieback from exposure in the wintertime. So I'm just trying to get a feel for how well the plant's doing. But just, keep an eye on it. When you first mentioned white, I was thinking about scale, which is an insect, and we can have kind of these white marks that'll be on the bark, and it usually grows on the bark.
Okay.
But that's a little bit different. It's not really as blotchy, but there'll be these white structures, look like a little miniature. They're longer than they are wide, almost like a grain of rice that's been attached to the branch.
Okay. That's what I didn't know if I should cut those off or just let it do its own thing.
Yeah, just let it alone for now, I think, and make sure it just leaves out like it should and looks healthy. There's another insect that we'll get on azaleas commonly, but they usually feed on the underside of the leaf, and they actually crawl around on there. So if you start to see the color fading out of the leaves, if it's not a nice green color and it starts to bleed out, and get lighter green and fade, then that can be the indication that there's insect feeding on there, that color's fading out. But then you just look on the underside of the leaf, and you'll see them crawling around on there.
Okay.
All righty.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
There you go. 479-1160, 349-WCCS, the telephone numbers you can call to ask Bob questions. We were talking cicadas a couple of moments ago.
Yes, we were. You've been practicing that.
No, actually I haven't.
No.
I'm just a natural
you just
cicada
did
kind
it.
of guy.
Yeah.
All right, so what do we need?
But
what do we need to know?
So toward the end of the month of May,
Okay.
we should start to see some activity, and you'll see some emergence from the soil. So you might see holes in the ground and say, "Ooh, what in the world? Where did these holes come from in the ground?" Well,
It was those critters.
Yep. They've emerged,
Uh-huh.
and they'll crawl up on whatever and sit there, and then they'll change from that larval stage, pupate, and then turn into adults.
Well, people want to know, I think most of all,
Shed
are they
their
going
skin.
to eat my plants? Are they going to eat my trees, my plants, or anything like that? These aren't locusts, these are cicadas.
Right, and so they won't be eating plants. They've been eating plants for the last 16 years. The larvae feed on the roots of plants.
So
all
this
right?
this is just them coming out to say,
So-
"Hey, my belly's full. Just thought I'd let you know I'm still here. I'll be back later."
Yep, so they have all the energy they need. They'll come out, turn into those adults, mate so that they can keep their life cycle going, all right, keep their population going for the next 17 years. And then they'll be singing first, so the males will attract the females. So all that noise, which can be deafening at times, if you're if you're near the woods and in areas where they really have a large population.
Surrounded by them as I am at home.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You might be hard to have a conversation
Yay.
at times.
Yay. Can't wait for that.
But just
but
enjoy
not just
the
yet.
music. And
And the
they'll be
time
up for about
frame
a
is
month.
okay. That was what I was going to ask you. They're going to be up for about a month.
Yep.
The singing isn't going to last a whole month.
No, it
though.
probably won't last the whole month.
Nah,
No,
just long
It'll
enough for the
it'll
guys
be more
to-
concentrated at the beginning, and then that'll.
You get a date,
slow
you get
down.
married, and then you don't have to sing anymore.
That's it.
I found that in real life too. Okay.
And then the only potential damage that can come from this, from the adult females when she lays eggs, is she has a very strong needle-like appendage on her body that she pierces into a branch with, all right, and excavates that a little bit and literally inserts rows of eggs in the branch. And usually those branches are pencil size, roughly. They can be a little bigger than that. Oftentimes they're not smaller than that.
So
But roughly in that diameter range of a pencil
keep your
thickness.
eyes on your blueberry bushes.
Yes, so any new plants you maybe have planted within the last year or so, new trees, shrubs, and things that fit into that category, that they may come and lay their eggs on that. Sometimes that then weakens that branch, and especially on fruit trees and things like that might have just been planted. Those are good candidates for them to lay eggs on. So they can cause enough damage there that they can slow the plant up, or even potentially kill it if there's enough adult females that lay eggs on multiple branches, and weaken those enough that they break off, or you have to prune them off to
So they
take
gang
care
up
of the
on
health plant. Yep. So you can cover, simply on smaller plants, just covering them during that egg laying period
Yeah.
is really all that's necessary to help minimize that.
Let's take a walk across
or
the
take
lawn.
your chances.
There you go. We'll take a walk across the lawn here today and talk about some of the weeds that come up among the grass. There's one particular one that in the last 4 or 5 years has really, in the springtime, it's very, very evident. It's a tall, greenish type of thing that has little white, not really flowers, but very, very quickly spreads, doesn't it?
There's one called corn speedwell.
Oh yeah,
Which is it's an annual. It's a winter annual. So a lot of times those plants that are already up, those weeds that are already up and growing and actually going to seed right now, are what we call winter annuals. So they germinated during the winter, late winter. And then they start to grow. They usually don't get too large of a plant, and then they will flower, and then they will get seeds on there. And they can be, and at that time there's not a lot of other things growing, so especially on bare ground and open fields, they can germinate and grow and be a ton of them. So then they set seed, and then they die soon.
They grow close to the ground, huh?
Yes, they're fairly. It's a rosette, kind of. When you look down on the plant, it kind of comes out. They have small leaves. Early on, you might mistake it for chickweed, which is another kind of winter annual that's often coating vegetable gardens and things now. And they'll get little white flowers on as well, and they'll just mat across the. They don't get very tall. They're more prostrate, grow right along the ground. But they're pretty easy to remove, just even if you rake or if you're going to till your garden. That's the easiest way to get rid of those. Just turn them under. They provide some organic matter as they decay, and we're just trying to keep them from going to seed.
I think I've found the one that I've noticed a lot, and it is shepherd's purse. You know about that?
Yeah, that's another one.
I don't like that.
It's kind of in the brassica family, which is the same thing as broccoli and cauliflower. And
gets a little
that group of
taller.
Plants. Yes, it'll get a little taller. Yes,
and spreads very quickly.
Yellow rocket is another one. It gets more of that plant might get a foot tall or even taller than that. It's in full yellow bloom now.
Sort of looks like mustard.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that too.
Mustard's another group of those plants that are early.
Yeah. Nasty
early
stuff.
growers.
We don't like them.
And a lot of those are fairly easy to take care of. And because they are winter annuals, we don't tend to have much of an issue with them during the main growing season. It's more at the end and the beginning.
Oh. Okay. All right. So those are some of the things we're noticing in our lawns right now, aren't we?
And a lot of those, dandelions and things like that. If you don't have very many, if you keep up with it, if you don't like them there, they're easy enough that you just with a long pronged tool you can just dig the majority of the root out.
If someone does that, then they don't have a problem. They don't have a very big lawn either.
They're preventing a problem, too.
Yeah. All right.
Not that they're a huge problem. But.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, you are welcome.
We appreciate it. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS AM 1160, 101.1 FM.